Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking. I'm Fabrizio. Anything weird with the audio, let me know. I did a complete reinstall of my operating system, so we know how that can kind of mess things up. But let me know. Alrighty. So I am back from Plastic City, which I'll get into that shortly, but today I'm going to be working on Horace H. Hoover. This is the alternate cover for issue 1. Started that a few sessions, we'll call them sessions. See if that autofocus works well or not. Doesn't appear to be. So let's see. Autofocus is the bane of my existence. Come on. There we go. Hey Logan, how's it going? Mind Tunnel. How is everybody doing on this delightful Sunday afternoon? Yeah, so in order to stretch out my story as long as possible, I'm going to talk about my whole trip to Plastic City Comic Con, which, spoiler, it was fun. I had a really good time. I met some very cool people. It was very far away from me, but it was still well worth the drive, and I'll get into it in a bit. Hey Sasquatch Gaddies, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's tough getting back into it. You know, I was gone for 6 days-ish, 6-7 days, I don't know what it was. And, you know, you pack up everything, you bounce around from hotel to hotel, you come back, and I still haven't unpacked my car. It's filled with Horace H. Hoover stuff. So on the off chance I get into an accident, the fire department and the EMTs will be digging me out of Horace H. Hoover stickers and comics and all sorts of paraphernalia. So hopefully that doesn't happen. This focus is odd. 1 second. Yeah, that'll give somebody a seizure if that doesn't work soon. Hold, please. So, Plastic City. I might have to unplug this this camera. It is definitely off. Yeah, I decided to reinstall my software, my operating system. I like to do it once a year, but sometimes I don't get a chance to. Computers always run better, especially Macs. Yeah, this isn't recognizing the focus. Hopefully that's good. If not, let me know. Maybe I can clean it up some other time. Hey, Cigar Gangster, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. So, Plastic City. So I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Plastic City was in Leominster, which it looks like Leominster, and I sounded like an idiot until somebody corrected me and said it's Leominster. So it was very obvious I was not from the area. So from Pittsburgh, it is, you know, depending on when you leave and how many times you stop, etc., etc., it took about 11.5 hours. And that's unfortunate because Google, you know, when you first set off on the trip in the morning, it was like 8:45, but it was a range of don't remember what it was, 8:30 or 8.5 hours to 12 or 13 or something. And you hope for the best, depending on weather and traffic and construction. I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe it's 9 hours, maybe it's 10 hours, but surely won't be the worst case scenario of Google Maps. It was absolutely the worst case scenario for Google Maps. So it was a very, very long trip. Not the most scenic route. Going through PA is always usually pretty scenic. But once you get to a certain point, it's just lots of highway. Nothing really to look at. So yeah, it was quite a trip. I tried out some new podcasts, the music, but problem with that I found though is at the beginning of the trip it's fine because I'm going through PA and I know it. Once you get to the dicey areas and I'm just not entirely sure what I'm doing, where the exit is, etc., I kind of want silence or some low-key music, so that kind of was a bit of a bummer. I thought I'd get into more podcasts than I did, but yeah, thanks everybody for the suggestions. I have them in Spotify and I'll listen to them, normally, but I didn't really get a chance to on the trip. So we got there Friday night, me and my wife, and the hotel was cool. It was a DoubleTree hotel. It's a nice hotel, and we were staying there. So I have said this often, but man, do I appreciate Comic-Cons in hotels. It feels very old school, like it used to. It feels focused, too. Not too big, not completely insane with people, but not too small. So it's at the hotel, and there were, I don't know how many rooms, maybe 4 or 5 different rooms. There was one big one slightly smaller one, and a couple small rooms, and all of the rooms had vendors in it, which I thought was really cool. I really like the idea of sort of the offshoot rooms to kind of poke around instead of one giant room, like virtually every convention that I've been to in the past, I don't know how many years. So got there. Setup for Horace H. Hoover is actually pretty simple. Like, I have a photograph. I have a photo on, I think, Instagram and Twitter of my setup. So I have a big vinyl banner, tall one, and then I have a smaller one. And then I just have my 3 issues, stickers, bookmarks, things like that. But it's actually a pretty quick setup, which is really nice. I see people back in with vans and boxes and boxes and boxes of long boxes. That wasn't right. Just tons of comics. These are comic book shops, obviously, with their dollar bins and whatnot. So the fact that I could just pop in takes me about 20 minutes to set up, and then I can just go relax after a 12-hour drive is really nice. So, Plastic City, if you don't know, is put on by Keith Gleason and his wife Amy. They're on Instagram and YouTube. Very cool. It was nice seeing Keith and Amy, and I met some people that I didn't know, some other vendors. Met lots of new, potentially Horace H. Hoover readers. There is I don't want to say there's a type of person that likes Horace H. Hoover, but most people are looking for back issues of the main 2, or they're looking for maybe paraphernalia or merchandise of the big 2, something like that, along those lines. And this is the case everywhere, right? So in Baltimore and Pittsburgh, that's the main draw. They're looking for Batman and Spider-Man, and if it doesn't have the logos on it, they just they don't think twice about it. But then there is the person that walks by. It isn't potentially what they're looking for, but the art kind of catches their eye. For me, I think the colors are a big deal. It's eye-catching. I've spent a lot of time on my branding, a ton of time on the Horace H. Hoover branding, and now Gloomywood. So I feel like that really cohesive, consistent design definitely catches people's eye. They pop in, I give them the spiel. Try not to go too deep, If I give them the initial spiel of Horace H. Hoover, occult detective, 1920s, etc., and you can usually tell right away if that's even remotely something they're interested in. Once you say occult, supernatural, or detective, if you last after that, then I'm like, okay, this is something that they're at least maybe not familiar with, but it's some genres that. Hold on. Sorry. Sorry about that. Something just popped up in my ear. Yeah, so if they last through the initial spiel, then I'll go into more detail. Maybe they were into Hellboy or Constantine or something like that. So I know it's safe basically to get into more detail and about, plans for the future, kind of specifics. I show them other art. So yeah, I'm not saying I can pick Horace fans out of a lineup, but given a few prying questions, usually I can suss out a potential reader. So the convention was one day. It was Saturday from 10 to 5, which was cool. Again, it was, it wasn't a huge deal to set up. So one day, I usually think 3 days is brutal and too much. So I kind of appreciated the short run time, if you will. I think that people that are looking to go to the convention, they know that they have to come that day instead of, maybe I'll pop in Saturday, maybe I'll pop in Sunday, maybe. So it's something, it adds a little immediacy to what people are potentially doing, if that makes any sense. So ended at 5 o'clock on Saturday. Oh, Jimmy Hart was the sort of the main guest, which was really cool. I didn't get a chance to talk to him though. The day kind of flew by, but I did see him often, and everybody thought he was cool, and it was a fun sort of treat. I did take a little bit of time to go dig through the dollar bins myself, mainly because we don't really have dollar bins in Pittsburgh. I know I'm making, that's broad strokes there, but it's, anytime I go to a dollar bin, it is the worst comics you can imagine. So to me, they're not even worth $1. They should be like quarter bins or something. So I skip them. The comic book shops I go to on a regular basis, I don't know what they're thinking selling these books for $1. They should not be $1. So I haven't really had a chance to dig through a dollar bin and find things that I think were actually worth it. So I did get a little time to do that, which was fun. I think the next comic convention I go to will actually, I'll just be going to it instead of tabling. I really miss taking my time, going through stuff, looking at artwork, checking out, vendors. And you don't have time to do that when you have a table. A little bit, but so I was considering Terrificon, just going to it, not having a table. There's some other ones that, people always point you to and that I've never been to. So we'll see. This part of the drawing is pretty, I don't want to say lackluster, but it's really not a part of the drawing that you want your eye to go to, so I don't want to put too much detail in here. The top of the page here is really where your eye should trail off, basically. And plus, this is the cover, so this is actually going to be covered. A good portion of that's going to be covered with the logo. Hey, Dr. Mask, how's it going? Yeah, thanks. I did make it home. The drive home wasn't as bad as the drive there. Speaking of which, Dr. Mask brought me comics. I was taken aback. It was so awesome. Some Ditko comics, The Stalker. They are still unpacked, unfortunately, in a short box right now. So I have not gone through the stuff that I picked up, or I really have not unpacked much. But I think I'll be able to do it through this next coming week, and then actually start reading some of the stuff that I bought. So the drive home, this is not comic book related, but it's still pretty cool. I didn't want to do a 12-hour drive home as well. So we decided to split up the trip, and we stopped, I think, about halfway or close to halfway at a place called Jim Thorpe, PA. It always, for some reason, popped up on our Instagram feed or wherever, as a place in PA that obviously is very East PA, and we're always on the West. And it looked cool. It looked like there was a cool little train, interesting architecture for PA for sure. So I said, you know what? We have a day, not a full day, but we'll pop in, stay overnight. And if it's a cool place, we can always come back later, but at least we'll know if it's someplace we actually want to check out later. And Jim Thorpe is pretty darn cool. Yeah, it was a very cool little town. We got there pretty late in the day, so we didn't get to do or see too much. Not that it's a big town, but there's a train, there's a couple of mansions, there's a couple museums, shops. But if you check out the architecture, it's very cool. It's very, I guess, Swiss is what I heard multiple times. It's Swiss influenced. But very cool. Dr. Mask, I wasn't planning on Terrificon, but my nephew is going on Sunday, so I'm going to tag along. Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't know if I can go. It's a lot of travel for me. But I want to go to one and not have a table. I miss, like I said, just digging through the dollar bins. No worries, I have about 1,300 comics on my to-read list. I know, I don't want to say it's getting ridiculous for me, but it's getting pretty close. Pretty close. I start to get, I don't want to say stressed out about comics that I have to read, but I am totally off the screen here. So the cool thing about Jim Thorpe is we got there, again, I don't know what time it was, 4 o'clock or whatever, 4 o'clock. And there's a mansion there, the Asa Parker. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, then, well, mansion. And they give tours, which I'm a sucker for touring old houses. It's one of probably the main thing that me and my wife do whenever we go to new towns. We just tour old houses and go to museums and stuff like that. Pretty boring for most people, but I don't know. Old houses are endlessly interesting to me. So this one particular mansion has been in use. I shouldn't say in use, but it's been preserved the entire time. Most of the time when you tour a historic mansion, it's always restorations. You know, this was the house of ex-general or captain or something, and, you know, 40 years ago, they restored it to its original condition. They got some period-specific furniture, and that's what you're looking at today. And I'm just so used to that. Whenever I walked into the Asa Parker mansion, it felt very different. There's no doubt about it. Like, it really felt like this thing still is being used. It's kind of hard to describe it, but it was very interesting. Out of all the homes and houses that I've toured, that was very cool. It also, you know, it looked and smelled and felt like an old house. So we took that tour, and inevitably, as soon as I go on something like that, I think of like a new story. So I have a short story that I'm currently writing that was very much inspired by that tour I took. So I don't know. It's whenever people talk about writer's block, I have yet to sort of understand that. As long as you just get out of what you normally do a little bit, I think you can find ideas everywhere and anywhere. You just got to look for them. So I'll definitely try to finish up the short story over the next month or two and maybe post it. I don't do a lot of prose stuff, but I have multiple things I've wanted to do that I just want to get them out there somehow. Terrificon is one of the best. Lots of creators. Yeah, everybody was talking about it. John's Longbox, how's it going? You need more epic 2-page spreads. Yeah. It feels very indulgent to do 2-page spreads like that. It's also really difficult, depending on what you're doing, obviously. If you're dealing with architecture and perspective, then it can get tough. If you're just doing a fight between two characters, that double-page spread can be a lot easier. I do, you know, whenever I'm thinking about, you know, what's on a page, I mean, as a writer, you view like double-page spreads or single or just full-page spreads one way. As an artist, you view it another, and then, you know, as a reader, you kind of view it another way. Sometimes it feels like a cheat, depending on what you're doing, but sometimes it's a reward for getting through to that particular part of the book. So right now on issue 4, I have, how many do I have? I have 1, 2, I have 3 full-page spreads. I don't have any double-page spreads though. And I think I might actually have 4 when all is said and done. So I don't know if there's sort of a unspoken rule on full-page spreads where it goes over the line. I guess somebody will tell me if I do go over the line. John's Longbox, yes. Yes, with chicks with swords. For sure. Sasquatch Gettys, agreed. Your spread of the Great Library of the Sightless, most have been fun and must have been fun and time consuming. Yeah, both of those things. And stressful at certain times, no doubt. DC Miller, what did you say this cover was for? So it's been a little bit, it's been a half hour. So this is the alternate cover for issue 1. So I don't know what is wrong with my focus here. 1 second. I'll try to No, that's just not working. So, issue 1, we have Horus, and these are a little montage of things that you'll see in stories, kind of hinting or shadowing of things you'll see in the stories. I wanted to, it's not a complete like redo. I mean, I'm using a lot of the same elements. I'm just positioning them differently. I'm kind of putting more focus on some things than others. When I did that first cover, it was, I don't know, 3 years ago at this point. So you progress as an artist, and I just wanted to kind of put my best foot forward as far as the very first cover that people are going to see with issue 1. So that's the goal, and issue 2. Just for fun, I wanted to redo issue 2. Or a close-up of Horus looking at the reader with an individually drawn image of each backer's face in the helmet's reflection. Yeah, that should be easy. Sure. Yeah, I'm sure. As long as the likenesses are just like a circle with like a smiley face. It is funny. I have thought many times about doing something with the reflection for Horus. You know, there's so many famous covers that utilize reflection, whether it's Hulk and Wolverine's claws or whatever. I mean, I have a really good opportunity with Horus to do that. I've been reticent to do it though, so far. It's got to be. I do use it a little bit, like a panel here or a panel there, but I feel like a cover, whenever the idea hits, there's going to be a Horace H. Hoover cover using the reflection in at least a clever way or an unexpected way. So it will be for a new upcoming printing. Yeah, so these are actually the new prints. So these aren't with Alterna, they're with Gloomywood Comics. That's my imprint. All 3 issues have been reprinted. But I wanted to do issue 4 with a crowdfunder. At least that's the idea. Don't hold me to that just yet. And I figured it'd be cool to do another printing of issue 1 and 2 with the alternate covers. It might just replace the old covers whenever I sell out. I guess it'll be up to what people prefer. It's kind of hard to judge. I know some people get attached to certain images even if technically they're not as good. You know, I might see all of these technical issues that other people just don't care. And I get it. I'm the same way. You know, when people try to recolor like an old cover, and they put gradients and all that stuff. Technically, is it better? Well, I mean, I guess technically it looks quote unquote more realistic, but as a comic book, I think it looks far, far worse. So at least that's what I'm thinking. Dr. Mask, what is your thoughts on homage covers? I feel like you stick to originals. Homage covers. I'm not a huge fan of them. I think it would, as far as like from the artist perspective, I don't know. I tend to stay away from them. Yeah, I like original covers. I'm trying to think of even back in the day whenever there was a million alternate covers of stuff. It depends. Well, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I think things are different now. You know, like I just backed this one crowdfunder and there were multiple covers. And that was kind of cool. I liked having the option. And I'm trying to think, you know, there have been some homage covers that I thought were really fun and clever. that weren't, Spider-Man 300. I've seen some Sin City ones that were fun. Yeah, I guess it depends. I know I didn't really answer, but as far as on the artist side, actually, the cover of issue 4, the original cover I did, I'll pull it out for the heck of it. 1 second. So, for issue 4, this was the original cover. It's just not going to work, is it? So this is the original cover for issue 4. I'll kind of scan up. We have Slurp in the back, the demon. He's kind of holding Horace's head there. We have Max, like debris everywhere. At first I was thinking, oh, it kind of reminds me of that Simonson cover. I think it's X Factor. I can't remember which X Factor it is. I'm sure you guys know what it is. And then I'm like, oh, maybe it'll be a little bit of an homage. But it was weird because after I was done with this, it's not close enough to the homage really to be an homage, but it's not far enough away where you don't see the influence. So it was this weird place where it didn't fit either. So I said, you know what? I don't think I can use it. As odd as that sounds, I redid the page. I even inked this thing too. So I might use it for something else. So then I redid the cover. So this is the new cover of issue 4, which I like better, honestly. So that's my almost homage story. I think you have to be careful. I guess that's the moral of the story is, how close it is to the original. Is it a straight copy? Maybe I right now I don't feel like I want to kind of play around with that just because I don't want people to think I stole it. I'm like, well, no, it's an homage. And I know people write like on the covers and, like Simonson or whatever, but I still feel like that. I don't know. What do you guys think about homage covers? John's Longbox. I'm not really a fan of homage covers. Yeah. I was trying to think of specific ones that I like, and that's kind of tough. They're almost like one-liner jokes. Like once you see it, I'm like, oh, that's Spider-Man 300 or whatever. That's Hulk. Then you just kind of move on. So it doesn't. I don't know. It's like a one-liner joke. That's the best way I can describe it. I feel like it has been overdone a bit. I did get Aaron Lepresti's Wraith of God, Tomb of Dracula #1 homage. Oh, I didn't see that one. He would be a good Tomb of Dracula guy for sure. Yeah, life experiences have a way of seeping into your creativity. Yeah, whether you want to or not. And it's funny how that works, but you got to be diligent. And even so, like, you might miss things, Wait for people to do homage covers of HHH. That would be trippy. Not much of fun either. Even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 is way overdone. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, I guess that is true. Like the homage covers that you see are just the same homage covers over and over. Generally, it's not some random Gen X or X-Men or Fantastic Four, whatever the case. People don't just randomly pick a comic and do an homage cover. It has to be, by its nature, almost like an overdone cover. That way everybody can recognize it. So I think from the get-go, you're sort of setting yourself up. John's Long Box. It makes your comic seem lesser than the original, almost like you didn't have faith in your own comic. Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm not even a huge fan of doing fan art of other people and other characters. I've done it a few times, and it has been fun. But even then, I still feel a little odd. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I don't feel like I'm doing those characters justice, or... Oh, well, this is a good example. I did a Hawkman one that turned out really nice. But somebody had asked, I don't remember who it was in chat, and they asked about, what was it? Oh, was it the beard? Because I gave him a beard. And he said, is that your contribution to Hawkman, the beard? And I'm thinking, I have zero idea. Like, I don't remember seeing him with a beard, but I don't know. He's been around for 1,000,000 years. There might be like a whole series of Hawkman with the beard, and I don't know about it. So that, I think, is that makes me a little nervous, you know, not knowing what toes I'm stepping on. Dr. Mask, my idea of a good cover is to tell a story. I feel homage covers are telling a different story because you immediately think of the original. Yeah. Yep. So I think we're pretty much all on the same page with homage covers. At best, it's a one-line joke, but you know, if you are doing your own book with your own characters, I guess the last thing I think about is other covers and other characters. So, yeah. Oh, I was gonna say about, you know, unintentionally, you know, picking up influences from other comics, movies, stories, books, phrases. I think language is a perfect example where we just subconsciously pick up turns of phrases pretty quickly from your friends or family, co-workers, and you don't realize it until the one day you say something like that's sweet, which is a phrase I never use it. But I said it one time, and it sounded so strange coming out of my mouth. And I'm like, wow, I just picked that up because everyone uses it, you know, that I'm with right now. And I remember I was rewatching Frasier, one of my favorite shows, but I hadn't seen it for, I don't know, 15 years or something like that. I finally got the DVDs at the time. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to rewatch these. I haven't seen them in forever. And there was a joke that Frasier made, and I'm like, huh, I've made that joke, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I don't know what it was. And for the rest of the day, I kept thinking, I have no idea if I heard that joke 20 years ago, and for some reason it got stuck in my brain, and then I just used it, or we thought of the same joke, and it really bothered me. I have no idea. The only thing I know is, well, I didn't steal it, meaning I didn't consciously, you know, watch an episode of something, make a dumb little joke or whatever. That was kind of interesting. Or is it better than that? Is it you watch a show and you pick up sort of the underlying views and humor of a show, and then you're taking those Lego pieces and you're making your own thing, and it just so happens the thing you made is similar to somebody else's because you only have the same Lego pieces. I know that's a torture analogy, but what are you gonna do? Yang Yan Zhao, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. Your interview with Mark Millar was very cool. John's Long Box, did you and your boyfriend enjoy Frasier? Yes, we did. I love Frasier. I will not apologize for that. I posit that 10 seasons of Frasier is probably the best 10 seasons of any sitcom or television show. The other thing too is I always wonder, does Frasier, like, you pop in a TV show, and maybe it's Seinfeld or somebody else, or whatever the case may be, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Why do you think it's funny? Is it because, I always had the same sense of humor as Frasier, and I just didn't know it because I was watching, I don't know what else was on it during Frasier. Was that like the Friends era, maybe? I can't remember. And you were just waiting for something like that? Or did it kind of elevate your current sense of humor and then just add to it? Almost like whenever you reading a new author that you had no idea that you would like so much. Like, I didn't know I liked Victorian literature after reading Frankenstein or something. I have a friend of mine who, anytime a lot of my story ideas or the comic or something, they always tell me how like Doctor Who like it is. Now, I've never actually seen Doctor Who, but I'm like, that always makes sense because I like British humor and, big Douglas Adams fan, Monty Python, etc., etc. So it makes sense to me, but man, makes me want to watch Doctor Who to really find out, how similar the sensibilities are. My favorite episode was when they took the auto mechanic class and they became the bad students. That was clever. I'm gonna have to think about that one. My favorite, with hands down, is whenever Frasier meets a woman shopping at the mall before Christmas. And they hit it off, and this woman kind of sets Frasier up with her daughter, and then it was just assumed that Frasier and his family was Jewish. It's probably the best Christmas episode on sitcom TV. I couldn't get into Doctor Who when Star Trek: The Next Generation was on an hour late. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of Doctor Who. I've never seen it. The only thing I remember is when I was really young. This was in the 70s. It was made, and I could be wrong, but I swear it was on like PBS or something, really late at night. And I remember the music used to like terrify me for some reason. So I just have like vague notions of it, but I don't remember anything specific. It is nice. I mean, Plastic City was great, and Three Rivers was good. But the rest of the year, I'm just kind of hunkering down and finishing out Horace H. Hubert. That'll be nice. It's still going to take quite some time for issue 4 because I've been doing lots of other things, but not that the conventions are over, I can really focus on it. 350. In other news, I did just finish watching Mission Impossible 2. So, I love Mission Impossible 1. Directed by Brian De Palma. It's got a cool style to it. Always loved it. When it came out, episode. The second one, I remember watching it once in the theater and thinking, this is really odd. I know it was Ang Lee, and he was really big at the time with Face Off, and I can't think of his other movies, to be honest. So he did Mission Impossible, and that was a terrible, terrible decision to have Ang Lee do Mission Impossible. It's really not redeemable in the least. John's Long Box. I watched it when I went to my aunt's house for a summer as there was nothing else to do. I hated it. As an adult, I love the classic Doctor Who, but Brits do sci-fi differently. They don't care about continuity. Oh, that I didn't know. Yeah, there's... I know there's controversy over I don't know how many years of Doctor Who and them totally messing things up. So I'm kind of glad I didn't start it anyway. Just to watch it fall apart. I remember, I don't know how many years ago, it's probably been 10 years, maybe even more than that. For a summer, I got BBC TV. It came with whatever plan I had. And I ended up watching a ton of BBC shows. I mean, it's hard to deny that the budgets, no matter what, are the lowest budgets of any show. I mean, but once you get over that, there's just something about, I don't know, something about the writing, the characters. It seemed to pull me in. There was a couple of shows, oh man, I'd have to really think about it. There was like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of modern telling. There was a Buffy ripoff that was actually pretty good. But I still didn't watch Doctor Who even when I had BBC. That was John Woo, not Ang Lee. Ah, yes. Thank you, John Woo. Okay, that makes way more sense. Because Ang Lee did Crouching Tiger and The Hulk, right? Yes. John Woo. Okay. That does make me feel much better. I've spent virtually the entire day today, well, the past hour, just doing this top section, which will probably be covered by a logo and a banner, but you still want to have something up there, and you can make it into a poster, you can use it as promo art, you know, whatever the case may be. Brokeback, The Hulk, Life of Pi, I didn't see that, yeah. Or Brokeback. Just have to stop after Peter Capaldi. That is where Doctor Who ends for me. Is Doctor Who, are they like very episodic? That I guess it's one of those deals where maybe just watching some random episode is the way to go. Old episode, I should say. I always joke whenever I watch a Mission Impossible movie and you see Tom Cruise doing these crazy stunts, running like 1,000,000 miles an hour. I always like to say this because it kind of enrages people, whoever I'm around. I'm like, man, I love Scientology. It's the best. And then we get into the inevitable, what are you, crazy? Scientology's crazy. I'm like, hey, if Scientology, okay, it's a simple syllogism, right? Tom Cruise is a Scientologist. Tom Cruise can run 1,000,000 miles an hour. Therefore, Scientology is awesome. It's unassailable logic. GJ Martin, how's it going? Afternoon. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a while. Are you still selling your new editions of H.H. Hoover? I am. Actually, I'm going to cut out here in a second. Yeah, I just got back from Plastic City, so I wanted to make sure I held on to enough issues that I could sell them on my site. So if you go to Horace Hoover, HoraceHoover.com, I think, and H.H. Hoover and all the variations therein, there's a 3-issue bundle. Actually, I'll pull them out. It's a good time now to stop anyway. There's a 3-issue bundle, which is the new issue 1, 2, and 3. They're on real cardstock paper, really nice printing. I'm very, very happy with these. They do have a little bit of extra stuff. There's a letters page, which has like mini stories in them. So each letter is basically like a little epistolary, which is a fun little addition, and that each of those letter stories will be told through all 5 issues. So if you're interested in that, I definitely recommend getting the first 2. Yeah, so there's a bundle of 3, or you can buy them separately, and I have them printed. So whenever you order online, I usually ship them out the next day or the day after. So no waiting. I got kicked out of a Scientology center. That doesn't surprise me, John. I believe it. Were you too much of a Scientologist? They just couldn't take your devotion to Scientology? Or were you dressed as Tom Cruise? In my late 20s, I tried to get recruited by a cult. You don't want to be part of any cult that would have you. Had some fun experiences, yeah, I'm sure. Those would be on YouTube today and getting millions of views, I'm sure. Dr. Mask, the 70s was a lot of multiple episode stories. Newer versions are mostly self-contained. Some multiple part shows. Personally, I would watch David Tennant's run. Yeah, his name keeps popping up. The new issues are awesome. Love the paper. Thank you. I'm really happy with them. If I'm going to reprint them, I wanted them to look and feel differently. So I thought that if you're going to do it, at least have them very different than the newsprint versions. I just want you to know, me and my son enjoy your H.H. Hoover figures. Such great quality. I will definitely purchase your new bundle. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think the first person that got the resin model. Right now, I don't have any of those on my store. I have to get packaging, but I will. Maybe over the next week or so, I'll try to get the packaging and the foam and all that stuff ready so people could actually buy that on my site. DC Miller, to be fair, there's not many places John hasn't been kicked out of. Yeah, it's a smaller list. All right. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate everybody popping in. Today was fun. I never know on a Sunday if people are out and about, napping, or causing trouble. So thanks. I appreciate everybody for popping in chat, talking. And I will be back next Sunday at 3, most likely. Hope everybody has a good rest of your day. And any questions, I'm always on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks again. Have a good one.